Okay, well set, thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kristen Proud, Vice Chair of New York Creates, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. This meeting is being held via WebEx as authorized by Chapter 56 of the laws of 2022. A webcast is available for members of the public to listen to this meeting. We welcome those who are listening via the webcast. And at this point, I'll do a roll call of the participants in today's meeting, beginning with the directors. Michael Abbott.
Present.
Anita Brown. Christine Chung.
Present.
Heather Hage.
Present.
Doreen Harris.
Present.
Joan McDonald. Ken Tompkins.
Present.
Great, thank you. I'd also like to recognize the advisory representatives designees. With us today is Dr. Todd Larson, Acting President of SUNY Polytechnic Institute. He is the designee of the Chancellor of the State University of New York. We also have the following member representatives: Emily Conchala, representing the Research Foundation of the State University of New York, and Michael Frame, representing the SUNY Polytechnic Institute Foundation. I will now do a roll call of the officers who are participating in today's meeting, beginning with David Anderson.
Present.
Patricia Arciero Craig.
Present.
Paul Kelly.
Present.
Scott Bateman.
Present.
Tim Taylor.
Present.
Pat Buckland.
Present.
I would like to ask everyone to mute their phones when they are not speaking to minimize any background noise. And also, if you would please identify yourself when speaking and when making a motion. For purposes of voting, we will call out each director's name for his or her vote so we can accurately record the vote this afternoon. I'll now ask if anyone has a conflict of interest with respect to the items on today's agenda. And if so, if you would please make an appropriate disclosure on the record now and then recuse yourself from any discussion or vote with regard to that item when we come to it on the agenda. Appears that we do not have any potential conflicts of interest today, so we'll move on to the approval of minutes from the prior meeting. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the New York Creates meeting of May 11, 2022.
Christine
This is
Chung,
Mike.
so
I make
moved.
the motion.
Thank you, Christine. Who had a second?
Mike seconds it.
Thank you. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Okay. Hearing none, we'll ask each director for his or her vote, starting with Michael Abbott.
Aye.
Anita Brown. Christine Chung.
Aye.
Heather Hage.
Aye.
Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Joan McDonald. Ken Tompkins.
Kristen, should I abstain since I was not present at the meeting?
Trish.
Yes, you could do that, Ken.
I mean, if you need the vote, whichever is appropriate, but I think probably best to abstain.
Okay, we'll record you as abstaining. I'd like to be recorded in the affirmative. So the ayes have it and the minutes are approved. We'll now move on to the Finance Committee report, which I'll present. The first item on the Finance Committee report agenda today is a lease amendment with Global Spec LLC. Could I have a motion to consider and adopt the lease amendment with Global Spec LLC, please?
So move, Ken.
Thank you, Ken. A second.
Christine Chung.
Thank you, Christine. So Global Spec LLC, a technology company, presently leases 30,000 square feet on the second floor of the Zen building for a term that expires on July 31, 2022. Global Spec is seeking to amend the lease to reflect the tenant's early surrender of the existing premises and relief from rent. on May 31, 2022, and the tenant's relocation to approximately 2,946 square feet of office space on the first floor of NFE. The term of the lease for the new space will be 3 years, beginning on the earlier of the date of completion of fit-up or October 1, 2022, which date will also be the date of rent commencement. The tenant will have an option to extend the term for 2 additional 24-month terms and will have an early access to the space as soon as July 1, 2022 to begin the fit-up. The landlord is willing to allow an early surrender of the leased premises so an existing tenant can relocate to that space. If Global Spec fails to vacate its current space by May 31, 2022, which is today, it will be required to continue paying rent on its current premises plus a holdover fee. Notwithstanding the foregoing, Global Spec will maintain access to an IT closet in the existing space from June 1, 2022 to July 31, 2022 at the rate of $400 per month. Should Global Spec fail to vacate the IT closet by July 31, 2022, it will be required to pay $2,000 per month until such time as the tenant vacates the IT closet. Base rent for the new space will be $24 per square foot for the first year of the lease, $24.50 per square foot for the second year, and $25 per square foot for the third year. If the tenant exercises its option to extend the term, rent will be $25 per square foot for the first and second renewal terms. The rent includes operating expenses and utilities, but the tenant will pay parking charges. The tenant will be allowed to use certain pieces of furniture in the new space that is left by the current tenant, and FRMC will provide replacements thereof in the event that the current tenant does not leave the same in the premises. FRMC will provide up to $100,000 for fit-up of the new space and acquisition of furniture, with any unused portion of this money to be applied as credit towards rent. If the tenant defaults during the first 3 years of the lease, the tenant will be required to repay the landlord a portion of the fit-up allowance determined by multiplying $2,777.77 by the number of months remaining during the 3-year period at the time of the default. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum given to the board in advance of this meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions. So at this time, the requested action is approve a resolution 1, approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease amendment with Global Spec LLC on the terms stated in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. And 2, approving and authorizing the president, treasurer, and chief financial officer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid lease amendment with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing same shall approve, the execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval. And 2, to take such actions as are necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intent of this resolution, including without limitation, the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements. At this point, I'll pause and ask if there are any comments or questions from board members. Okay, hearing none, I will ask each director for his or her vote, beginning with Michael Abbott,
Aye.
Anita Brown, Christine Chung,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris,
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins,
Aye.
and I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The second item on the agenda today from the Finance Committee is a lease amendment with DPS Power Group, Inc. It asks for a motion to consider and adopt a lease amendment with DPS.
This is Joan, so moved.
Thank you, Joan. A second, please.
This is Christine, a second.
Thank you. So by way of background, DPS is a global consulting, engineering, and construction management company serving high-tech industries around the world, which presently leases 11,600 square feet of office space on the third floor of the Zen Building. DPS seeks to amend its lease to reflect its relocation to a 30,000 square foot office space on the second floor of the Zen Building. The lease is for 8 years from the date of commencement, which is the later of June 1, 2022, or the date that the current tenant vacates the space. The tenant will have an option to extend the lease for 1 year. Rent will be $23 per square foot for years 1 and 2, growing to $25.50 per square foot for years 3 through 6, and then increasing to $27 per square foot for years 7 and 8 of the lease agreement. Rent includes operating expenses and utilities and will begin 4 months after the date of commencement. Tenant also will pay for parking. In addition, the tenant will have use of the existing furniture in the space. FRMC will pay a tenant allowance of $452,700 towards fit up and other tenant allowances. The Finance Committee approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including recommending that the board approve these same actions today. So the requested actions are approving a resolution 1, approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into an amendment to the lease with DPS on the terms stated in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting. And 2, approving and authorizing the president, treasurer, and chief financial officer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation, to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid lease with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing same shall approve, the execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval, and to take such actions as are necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intent of this resolution, including without limitation, the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements. At this point, I'll pause and ask if there are any comments or questions regarding this resolution. Hearing none, we'll move on to the vote, beginning with Michael Abbott.
Aye.
Anita Brown. Christine Chung.
Aye.
Heather Hage.
Aye.
Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Joan McDonald.
Aye.
Ken Thompson.
Aye.
And I'd also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The third item on the agenda from the Finance Committee is a lease with No Miss Power Group LLC. It asks for a motion to consider and adopt this lease.
This is Joan, so moved.
Thank you, Joan. A second, please.
Ken, second.
Thank you, Ken. So No Miss is a high-tech startup that originated actually at SUNY Polytechnic Institute, and it focuses on the application of novel semiconductor devices and power packaging materials for the power electronics market. It seeks to lease approximately 381 square feet of lab space in CSTEM for a term that would commence on June 1, 2022 and expire on May 31, 2027. The tenant will have an option to extend the lease for 2 additional 12-month terms. The tenant will pay $24.53 per square foot for the first lease year, with a 2% escalation each year during the term of the lease and any renewal period. The rent includes operating expenses as well as utilities. The Finance Committee approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including recommending that the board approve these same actions. So the requested action is approval of a resolution approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into a lease with No Miss on the terms in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of the meeting, and approving and authorizing the president, treasurer, and chief financial officer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation, to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid lease with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing same shall approve, the execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval, and to take such actions as are necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intent of this resolution, including without limitation the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements. Are there any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Hearing none, we'll start the vote with Michael Abbott, please.
Aye.
Anita Brown, Christine Chung,
Aye.
Heather Hage,
Aye.
Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Joan McDonald,
Aye.
Ken Tompkins.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. The next item on the agenda is an agreement with Gray Bar Electric Company, Inc. At this time, I would ask for a motion to consider and adopt an agreement with Gray Bar Electric Company.
This is Joan, so moved.
Thank you, Joan. A second, please. Could I have a second?
This is Ken.
Second.
Thank you, Ken. So FRMC seeks to enter into a new contract with Graybar for the maintenance of the electric metering system in the NanoFab Extension Building and in the Zen Building. As part of the build out of these facilities, an advanced high-speed metering system by Schneider Electric was installed to allow FRMC to closely monitor the power quality and provide alarms when outages or sags occur. Graybar is the regional distributor for Schneider Electric and as such has exclusive rights in this region. This agreement would replace the existing maintenance contract with Graybar, which expires May 31, 2022. The new agreement would begin on June 1, 2022 for a 3-year term at a cost of $63,210. This is a sole source procurement based on Graybar's exclusive rights in the region. The Finance Committee reviewed and approved the resolution described in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting, including recommending that the board approve the same actions today. So the requested action is approval of a resolution, 1, approving and authorizing the corporation to enter into an agreement with Graybar on the terms stated in the memorandum provided to the board in advance of this meeting. And 2, approving and authorizing the president, treasurer, and chief financial officer, each of them without the other, on behalf of the corporation, to execute, acknowledge, and deliver the aforesaid agreement with such changes, variations, omissions, and insertions as the officer of the corporation signing the same shall approve. The execution thereof by such officer to constitute conclusive evidence of such approval, and to take such actions as are necessary or appropriate to implement and carry out the purposes and intents of the resolution, including without limitation the execution, acknowledgement, and delivery of other documents and agreements. Are there any questions or comments regarding this resolution?
Yeah, this is Ken. I actually do have a question on this one. With respect to the Finance Committee, which I would expect may have gone over this point, but Graybar has exclusive rights to I won't say it correctly, but it sounds like, it's a franchise kind of a deal, but are we perpetually, committed to having to rehire? They're a perfectly fine company, just any company that happens to have that kind of agreement. What alternatives are there to service to such a system in the future? Well, you know what I mean?
Hey, Ken, this is Paul Kelly. The short answer is that yes, in order to maintain the warranty, we are subject to dealing with the preferred vendor to Schneider Electric, which is the the organization we initially bought the information or the tools from.
Right.
Going forward, after the initial warranty, we do have the authority or the ability to go out and see if there's better people in the market.
Right.
But, for the initial term, we are subject to the requirements of using Schneider's exclusive vendor.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, just, it's sort of a price discipline question, really, going forward. I understand the short term. And of course, it may be that it always works out the way it is right now because the service quality and price are just right, that kind of thing. But it just sounded the way it was presented as kind of a lock without a key. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? And I think we're all in agreement, certainly in the finance committee, we were, that we don't want to jeopardize the warranty of this metering equipment.
Absolutely.
We'll start with Michael Abbott.
Aye.
Anita Brown. Christine Chung.
Aye.
Heather Hage.
Aye.
Doreen Harris.
Aye.
Joan McDonald.
Aye.
Ken Tompkins.
Aye.
And I would also like to be recorded in the affirmative, so the ayes have it and the resolution is adopted. Is there any new business that any of the board members would like to raise at this time?
Not new business, but I was late for the start of the meeting, so I'd like to be recorded in the affirmative on the meeting minutes from May 11th.
Okay, thank you for that, Joan.
Yep.
Anyone have new business this afternoon to raise? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. Given the change in meeting logistics due to the ongoing public health concerns, we notified the public of the opportunity to send in comments via email prior to this meeting. We have not received any comments. The next meeting date is to be determined, and once finalized, will be posted on the website. Is there any further business for discussion this afternoon? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved, Christine Chung.
Thank you, Christine. A second.
Second, Doreen.
Thank you, Doreen. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying
Aye.
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 Great. Thank you all very much for your time. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.